Yahoo Sports Memorable Moments is presented by Carnival Cruise Lines, the official sponsor of fun.
A lot of people know where they were and what they were doing on that day in February in 1988.
Nobody can understand what we've been through, and we shared a lot of experiences.
At the time, it was exciting and it was big and it was great for the media and it was great for television.
I knew that they were going to make a big deal out of Brian and I competing head-to-head against each other. It's going to be the Battle of the Bryans.
Most Olympians, you look at their history, they come from small towns, and there's something special about a small town. Brian Boitano came from Sunnyvale, California. I was born in Belleville, Ontario.
The first time I met Brian Orser was in 1978 in Megève, France, in the Alps when we were doing Junior Worlds. He was 16, I was 14. You know, I think we were both shy at that age and we were competitors.
I think at that point too, when we were kids, we knew that this was something that would be a rivalry for quite a long time.
I think Brian Boitano and Brian Orser were good friends, but I also think there was that underlying thing of it's going to be one of us.
They're both so different. Brian Orser, he was more playful, he was maybe in a way more elegant, and Brian Boitano in a way because of his physicality, he was always stronger, he was more the athlete.
Their personalities were, you know, Orser's kind of like this, and Boitano was like this, and it really showed up in their performances.
We were back and forth, first and second, second and first, third and fourth, you know, we all the way through our careers. And we were also front runners, and we were also people that were changing the sport, and we were moving it forward and making it more exciting. Leading into the '88 games, there were actually 3 players. There was Alexander Fadeev from Russia. He was the world champion in 1985. 1986, Boitano won the world championships. So then I won in '87. So now you go into the Olympics in '88 and you have 3 former world champions.
Boitano was 86, Orser was 87, and now they're kind of, you know, it was really, you can't write this stuff. I mean, it's awesome.
I know Brian Orser is going to be the favorite because he's Canadian. He was second to Scott Hamilton in '84.
Because Brian Orser had won the World Championships the year before, there was an awful lot of pressure for him to win a gold medal and give Canada its first gold medal in a home Olympics.
The Battling Bryans, when I saw it, I was thinking, it's really smart. For one thing, it's going to get, you know, a lot bigger ratings because we're both named Brian. I thought it was going to be big.
The Battle of the Bryans, that kind of evolved pretty quickly. I think it just made for great media, and it was something that people could kind of hang on to.
It was just across the border, so half of the Saddle Dome was Canadian and half was American. There was nothing that could be changed to make it better if it was a Hollywood movie.
If you were to write a script, for me, it was perfect. Because I was going in as the reigning world champion, the Olympic Games were at home. There were no other world champions in any other sport from my country. So, you know, I was the kind of the guy. And then they announced that I was going to carry the flag into the opening ceremonies. That was the first thing that started off amazing. Then we got into the competition a day later.
I was second in compulsories, Brian was third in compulsories.
With that judging system back then, you really had to be in the top 3 in all 3 areas, figures, short, and long.
Brian won the short program. I was second in the short program, but I raised to first, and Brian came up to second. So it set up the evening, you know, in 2 nights when the long program, whoever won the long program, no matter what, would be the Olympic champion. At every stage of the program, I was like, it just felt, I just was just right on it. Remember after the 3rd jump, I was like, oh my God, I'm so on. This is so amazing. And I said, shut up. You got to concentrate and keep going. And then you finish the program and you're standing in your last pose and you're like, I just nailed it. It's hard to explain. I just performed this in front of millions of people around the world. This is the coolest feeling in the entire, you know, that will ever happen in my life.
You watch that program today and it still gives you chills. It was amazing.
Boitano, he had the quad that he could do, and he'd been practicing, and so he was a little more athletic.
I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, I definitely feel like I had a higher power in play there. And I've never said that in one of these interviews. I've never used those words, but I felt like I was like just being lifted and set down gently.
That's the best I've ever seen anybody skate in the history of the sport. How is anybody ever going to beat that?
When Brian Orser skated his program, I put my headphones on and went in the bathroom stall and sat on the toilet. Just to sit there and listen to music. Because I thought, I don't really want to see him skate.
The press hates that. You know, the press wants to know, did you watch him? What did you think when he went out? No, you never watch. You don't want to know what anybody else did. And then Orser comes out and he skated great. Turned out a one jump.
I had one little sort of tiny little falter on a triple flip jump, you know, that I just sort of stepped out of. And it was kind of enough to make everybody kind of take a breath, make a face. And I'd felt that I didn't make a major error.
I was even there at this night, and it was so difficult for me to say, where does my heart go to?
You've got a bunch of judges on a panel and it's going to be a tie. You know, it might go my way. I might have that hometown advantage, you know? So, you know, you kind of praying for at least that to happen.
Brian Orser, he gave an incredible performance, and it was his night, but somehow it was Brian Boitano's night as well.
We had everybody on the edge of their seat just waiting for the scores to come up. You know, it was 5.9, 5.8.
And then I take off my headphones and I heard his last mark. His last mark was a 6.0.
It just came down to, you know, a tenth of a point, and which is what you want, you know, and then the debate begins, right? Well, who did you think win?
My teammate Christopher Bowman, who is was a notorious practical joker, comes in. He's like, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, you won, you won, you won. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Don't do this to me, because this isn't funny. And he's like, no, you won. I'm like, he got 6-0. He got 1-6-0. It's his only 6-0. I'm telling you, the monitor outside, you're in first place. And I'm like, wow.
It was close. It was 0.1. Came out to be a 5-4 split in his favor. And, you know, I don't think anybody would have squawked if it had gone in my favor.
When you have something that's absolutely flawless, and then you have something that might have had just one little chink in the armor, maybe two, you know, you kind of go back to the flawless routine.
There's no better feeling than when they announce you for the first time as an Olympic champion.
And I know that both Brian Boitano and I, you know, we stuck pretty much to the script, and we gave them a fantastic battle right to the very bitter end.
You're in Canada and you've been world champion, and then you go home with a silver medal. At the end, and they never say you win silver, they always say you lose gold.
We were the host country that didn't win, and I kind of I carried that on my shoulders because I felt that responsibility to do that, and it was devastating. And it took me a long time to get over that.
Boitano said I probably didn't celebrate as much as I should have or wanted to, because I knew Brian Orser felt so bad, and I had so much respect for him as a competitor.
I did feel bad for Brian Orser. I knew what I would feel like if I was a silver medalist that night. I just knew it.
He was sensitive to how I was feeling, as I would have been sensitive to how he would have felt.
I think it must have been tough for them out there to compete against each other, to have a friendship, and at the same time to really write history.
We took different paths professionally. We actually did spend a lot of time together and kind of rehashing everything. And I think it was then that we became closer friends.
They went their own separate directions. So Brian Boitano stayed in the sport. We actually competed again. He was much more involved in the performance part of it and did his own show, his own tour.
I'm still skating pretty much full time, like all year round. It keeps me in good shape. But I've gone into cooking as well. TV show, you know, What Would Brian Boitano Make? Cookbook, and then I'm doing a new show on HGTV called The Brian Boitano Project. So I got a lot of things happening.
And then I got this opportunity to teach skating. I had some instant success because I started working with Una Kim, and she went on to be the Olympic champion.
As soon as she won, I texted him and I said, finally got your gold medal. And you know, I said, congratulations, you deserve it, or it's been a long time coming, or something like that. And he wrote back right away, and he goes, that means so much coming from you.
for 25 years, our paths are constantly crossing. And we're getting a little bit older, and we've got a few more wrinkles, and he has a little bit less hair. And that's sort of why. But we have some good laughs. We always have good laughs, actually.
The good thing is that they both can look back and be good friends and respect each other for what they've done.
They did it as well as it can be done.
The pressure that we both felt was exactly the same. So there's almost like this brotherhood. That's what we said, you know, we're almost like, you know, connected forever because of this experience that only the two of us can understand what we went through.
I thought that there are very few competitions in my life where I saw anybody skate like Boitano did that night.
But I'm just glad now when I look back at the Battle of the Brines and that whole experience, I was proud of the fact that we both really delivered what the audience was hoping for.
Yahoo!